The film begins at a crime scene, a perfectly regular suburban house, where the police investigate multiple people's deaths. The investigating officer is called forth to look at something unusual in the basement. The body of a naked woman, half buried in the soil, with no relation to any family members. Another investigating officer informs the officer in charge that there seems to be no sign of breaking in. Instead, it seems like everyone in the house was trying to break out before their deaths happened. The police send the body of the unidentified corpse, a Jane Doe, in the officer in charge's words, for an autopsy. This autopsy takes place in the morgue located in the house of father and son coroner duo Tommy and Austin. The film gives us a sneak peek into the working dynamic between the father and son as we see them performing an autopsy on a corpse and filming it on video. There are two elevators in their basement. One is a step ladder style with the door only opening outwards. They're so skilled that they can determine the cause of death for anybody. Tommy is clearly efficient and more experienced at deducing the cause of death, while Austin seems to be playing an apprentice to him. The latter tells Tommy that he and his girlfriend, Emma, may be going out for a movie later that night. While Austin stitches up the body and stores it in one of the shelves, Tommy heads out for a smoke break. Emma makes a surprise visit to their house, and Tommy lets her see the dead bodies they have stored in the morgue. When she inquires about the necessity of tying bells, the latter explains that coroners used a dated accessory to understand if the body was actually dead, and jokes about using them in present times because he was a traditionalist. Austin and Emma leave when the sheriff arrives with Jane Doe's body. Austin's now thinking about leaving his dad alone to perform this autopsy. His conversation with Emma reveals that he plans to tell his father that he doesn't want to continue in the same profession anymore, but is struggling to come out to his father. Noting the urgency of this task, the son doesn't want his father working overtime alone, so he cancels the date and pleads for Emma to return in 2 hours. That way they can watch the midnight show. Back at the morgue, the sheriff reveals that they've not found any fingerprints or clues to determine who this young woman might be, and asks Tommy to perform an autopsy on her that night, because the chief investigating officer was pressing to learn more about the corpse by the morning. The father and son are at it again. After sending the sheriff off, Austin turns on the video recorder and initiates an autopsy with his father. At this time, the radio forecasts that the next few days will be sunny, but no one pays attention to it. As they slowly proceed through each step of the autopsy, from preliminary investigation to a thorough look into her body and organs, more confusing signs appear. The first step in an autopsy is a visual assessment. Jane was about 20 to 30 years old with an unusually small waist that's not proportional to her body frame, and no obvious trauma. But what happens next is incomprehensible to the father and son. Her eyes have clouded, suggesting that she might have been dead for a long time, but there's no sign of rigor mortis. As they examine the body, they quickly note both her wrists and ankles have been fractured, but no bruising or any visible sign of injury appears on her skin. In her fingernails and hair, some peat from the northern part of the country is detected, but they're in the south. Austin takes photos of these characteristics while his father diagrams the position of her injuries on the blackboard. At the same time, a fly crawls out of her nose, and her nose leaks some blood. Later, they discover that her tongue has been cruelly excised, and a lower molar tooth is missing. A thin thread is concealed in her mouth, and there's been evident damage to the genitals. All the anomalies point to a complex cause of death. The time's now already 9:45 in the evening. The son knows his date is ruined. They move on to the second part of the autopsy, internal testing. They hear radio static while Tommy opens the corpse up. Annoyed by the radio noises, the son switches it to a music channel, so the dissection begins in light music. However, strange things continue to occur. First of all, the blood of the corpse flows freely, like that of a living person. And then Austin spots a leakage in the blood sample of Jane Doe and discovers all the specimen in the refrigerator have gone bad. The former is starting to get more and more confused as he proceeds through the autopsy. As they dissect her, things get stranger. The lungs have been severely burned, as if the body was ignited. Other internal organs have puncture wounds from various sharp objects. It is medically irrational to have her internal organs harmed while her skin remains intact. If she was murdered, they don't know how or why the killer killed her in such a convoluted manner. And the father and son seem to talk about how cruelly the person may have been tortured before their death. Suddenly the lights start flickering and they hear some noise outside, so Austin goes onto the corridor but spots no one. He also thinks he saw someone in the mirror but can't find anyone. In the morgue, the father accidentally cuts his wrist on a bone and washes it under the faucet. Meanwhile, Austin chases a ghostly sound, trips and falls down, and Tommy comes to the scene. Together, they find their injured cat, Stanley, stuck in the vent. The cat is covered in bruises and appears to be dying, so Tommy wrings its neck to put an end to its mortal suffering, and later incinerates it. Back at the morgue again, the autopsy restarts and more inexplicable spectral phenomena await them. The freezers in which the bodies are kept automatically open. Then a flower from the northern part of the country, the Jimson weed, is found in her intestines. The flower and the peat in her fingernails imply that the corpse originates from the north. The radio forecasts a raging storm coming the town's way. Sensing something ominous, Austin proposes to finish the autopsy in the morning, but Tommy tells the former off since they're nowhere near the finishing line. After that, a piece of cloth with an unnatural diagram is found in her stomach. Unraveling the cloth, they find her missing tooth. This indicates that her missing tooth was dislodged by force and swallowed. Austin pieces it together and guesses that the corpse was to be a sacrificial offering to a certain cult. Now the radio broadcasts that the storm has caused a flood. Austin again tries to tell Tommy to get out of the morgue. However, the latter pays no attention to him. Suddenly, the closed door of the morgue swings open and all the lights in the morgue explode, plunging the whole place into darkness. The two of them try to get out. Fortunately, the generator is still working, and power is soon restored. But the basement exit is obstructed by some branches, and they can't open it. Worse still, their phone reception is cut off. During this time, footsteps and growls echo through the hallway. In a panic, they return to the office and call the sheriff, but to their surprise, the telephone also fails. Suddenly, they sense the presence of an entity outside their office door. Through a crack in the door, Austin sees a pair of feet with bells on them. The bells which only belong to the deceased bodies. Obviously, Jane is the root of all the strange happenings. The hopeless two seal the doors tight and brainstorm how to escape. They're clearly stuck inside because the emergency phone calls they try don't work, and there's a storm raging outside. Subsequently, Tommy is hurled inside the washroom with a magnetic force and is attacked by an unseen figure with clouded eyes, injuring him. Both of them try to rationalize the situation, but they quickly conclude that the body, Jane Doe, is the cause of all things supernatural happening to them. They then try to light a fire to the body, setting the whole lab on fire in the process. The ladder's burned, but the body remains intact. As they both struggle to escape the loud banging noises at their door, they try to board the elevator. Before boarding it, Tommy swiftly uses his emergency axe on a dark presence, only to realize that he's murdered his son's girlfriend, Emma, in the process. Stuck in the elevator now, Tommy and Austin decide to head out to the morgue one last time to figure out the cause of death of their subject and try to stop this evil force, recognizing that their lives are in danger anyway. Deeply disturbed, they return to the morgue and find out that the brain cells of the corpse are still alive, signifying that though the body might be dead, some miraculous energy simultaneously keeps it biologically alive as well. The cloth shows some markings from Leviticus 20:27 and the year 1693, the year of the Salem witch trials, and that's when it strikes them that Jane Doe's body doesn't belong to the present time. Instead, they come to believe that she inhabits the body of a witch from the 17th century. We're then taken back to the Salem witch trials in the 17th century, and how innocent young women and girls were burnt at the stake due to superstitious religious beliefs. Although Tommy believes that the idea of witches may be grounded in mass hysteria, Jane Doe, they believe, was tortured to the extreme. Her tongue was severed, a tooth broken, and she was forced to swallow it. Ankles and wrists are broken, etchings and markings on her skin, burning of her lungs, and laceration of her insides. Tommy's theory posits that the very act of attempting to kill a witch inadvertently birthed a witch in Jane Doe's case. So, Jane was an ordinary girl, and the ritualistic torture seemingly transformed her into a witch, who's immortal now, and continues to feel the pain of that torture through the centuries, even though her mortal body is dead. They further conjure that they're merely in her path of revenge against humanity, and end up as victims. In the process, Jane Doe gets to resurrect her body little by little. It's hinted that if this process continues, Jane Doe will return back to life and wreak havoc upon humanity. Tommy decides to offer himself up to Jane Doe, the witch, and supernatural force, so that his son is spared. He says he won't fight her, but wants to help her instead. Immediately afterward, the lights start to dim, and we see Tommy being supernaturally inflicted by the same kinds of wounds as on the corpse. Simultaneously, the corpse is miraculously seen to recover. As Tommy lies, dying, the corpse of Jane Doe almost returns to life, denoted by the diminishing fogginess in the corpse's eyes. In one final attempt, Tommy tries to reach for a knife to slice off his tongue as part of his final sacrifice, but Austin stabs his father with it instead, bringing an end to his mortal pains. As Austin sits beside his father's corpse, grieving, the radio starts playing again, and he hallucinates that the police have arrived for help. He tries to open the door leading to the outside, but to no avail. Finally, he's scared by the vision of his own freshly dead father and slips from a height, tripping over the railing to his death. The following day, when the police arrive at the scene, they find the 3 dead bodies and nothing supernatural about the corpse. They're now sending the corpse of Jane Doe to Virginia Commonwealth University for a fresh re-examination. Before the film ends, we see its big toe twitching as the radio comes on in the ambulance, signaling perhaps that the people in the ambulance will meet the same fate as Tommy, Austin, and Emma.